welcome to all my beautiful listeners. Welcome to I Wrote That, a podcast where we bring industry experts and book authors together to talk about all things books. My name is Larissa Sohan. I am your host and book coach, and I'm here to guide you today with our conversation with Monica Miller. She is your content guide where she takes the stories from your heart and the expertise from your head and creates a meaningful marketing message so that your audience feels deeply connected, inspired, and ready to be captivated and convert into your offers. She helps female entrepreneurs thrive and become profitable businesses through the power of content and marketing strategies. She is a 3-time published author, international speaker, and writer, and owns her own business called Monica Writes while raising her 2 little boys. I love so much of your intro because I love that you talk about connection with your audiences and writing content that converts, and you're an author yourself, so you have so much hands-on experience with that. Tell us a little bit about how you got onto this path.
Yeah, I love that when people ask me this because I get to say it all started whenever I was 12 years old because it literally did.
Wow.
When I was 12, I remember that. I wanted to be a freelance writer because it was at that time that freelance writing was becoming big in the online space. And I love to write. I found that it was a gift of mine and I loved to do that. It actually started a little bit younger when I had a speech impediment. So when I was little, like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, I had a speech impediment and I couldn't pronounce certain words. I talked too fast. And I remember a lot of people asking my sister, what did she say? Or asking me, can you repeat that again? And, for us who are moms, asking kids to repeat themselves again and again is, they get annoyed really quick. So when I actually learned how to write, I felt like that gave me a gateway to express myself without having to renunciate a word or repronounce a word or to slow down. I could actually write and say what I had to say, and people could actually get what I was saying without me having to repeat myself. And so that really started that whole piece of me wanting to write and wanting to share. And as I got older, I realized I had a knack for interviewing people and turning their stories or their words into stories. And that developed and went into where I wrote human interest stories for a newspaper in Kaiserslautern, Germany.
Wow.
I was stationed in Germany with my husband at the time. And that's kind of how I got started in that piece of understanding that I loved hearing people's stories and helping them craft awesome content for them. So that way their stories come alive. And that was really like the whole beginnings of me becoming a writer. I actually published my first book when I think I was 18.
Oh, wow.
It's like almost in college or going to college or like just starting college. It was around that age. I published my first book. And then since then, I published 2 more back in 2016. And I am in the works of publishing a journal right now.
Wow. That's awesome. So you have a sale coming up for one of your books. Why don't you talk a little bit about that book and like what readers can, get excited for from that book?
Yeah, it's called Write Your Book in No Time. And the reason I wrote this back in 2016, but here's the deal. It's still applicable today because how many of you have been saying, I want to write my book, and yet you haven't done it? Maybe life got in the way. Maybe you feel like you have no time. Maybe you feel like maybe you're a little scared. Maybe it's scary to share your story. Maybe it's overwhelming. Maybe you don't feel safe. I don't know. Whatever it is, I wanted to write a book that showcased that you could be busy and yet still write a book amidst your busy life. So I wrote it more for busy entrepreneurs because I I hear a lot of entrepreneurs say, I want to write a book. I want to share my story. I'll do it one day, when the kids are raised, when this happens, when that happens, when Jesus comes back. And I'm like, sister, no, stop. Like, we need to do it now. So that's the whole thing. That was the whole reason I wrote the book. And inside of the book, I give you practical everyday tips that you can grab a hold to and actually implement. It's not hard stuff. It's stuff that we all know. It's just implementing it and holding yourself accountable to what you said you wanted. And it's not like sit down 3 hours at a time. Like, no, we don't have time for that. So I just share how you can sit down even for 10 minutes to write your book, maybe twice a week, 3 times a week. Because sitting down for 10 minutes is better than sitting down for nothing, right?
Yeah. It's so true. I want to read your book, and I'm really excited that you're going to be giving away part of it for free. And we'll talk about more on how to get that, towards the end of the episode. So be sure to stick around. But the write your book in no time methodology is exactly what I did for my last book that I published, and it became an international bestseller. So it's not about, you don't need, like you said, to sit down for 3-hour blocks for the next year and, create this huge 500-page masterpiece. That's not what it's about anymore. The market is actually turning, especially for like nonfiction books, to where shorter books are preferred. And they are more easily digestible. They get to the point. People really like them. Like, we are in the era of quick and dirty. Of like, social media is, you get 30 seconds in front of people, and people's attention spans are lower than they were. So the idea of, fitting the book in around your busy schedule is so doable. It's so doable. I absolutely love that. So the Write Your Book in No Time book is about helping busy entrepreneurs. Do you apply it to any genre, or is it specific?
It is not specific at all, because you can easily take these methodologies and apply it to a fiction book or a fantasy book or your journal you're trying to create or whatever it is. I mean, it would be applicable to, if you're a coach and you have, you want to develop like maybe maybe you want to do like a planner. I mean, you could even take the methodologies I teach in the book and put it to something that you want to create, to add, to give your clients or even potential audience, or not potential audience, potential clients, there we go, an additional, resource. Like for me, I want to create a content planning workbook and offer that to my clients and my audience as an additional resource. So taking the same principles and applying it to these areas of your life, these additional resources you want to create, there's no genre, there's nothing. It's like non-denomination, if you want to say it that way.
And you're really using these books as part of your brand. Your brand rests on them, and you've built up around this brand. How do you use your books like as part of your business?
So some of the ways I utilize my books into my business is I take some of the principles, of course, in like Write Your Book in No Time, and I do apply that to my calendar or even my business. So for example, one of the things is like being intentional. And so one of the things I have learned is, if I want a vision or I want something to come true, I had to be intentional. So I broke down my business into quarters. And from the quarter, I broke it down into months. And from that month, I broke it down into weeks. So I have these goals I want to meet every single week. And it's one of the things where it's just like, oh, look, I'm going to look at conferences for 30 minutes this week. Something is so, it's low key. It's nothing like I'm going to sit down and look for conferences I want to go to for 2 hours. It's just a small chunk of time. And that is how I teach my, how to write your book in no time. I teach that same principle of being really intentional and then putting it into your calendar, making it a part of your life, carving out that time to really work on the things you say you want to work on, because that's the only way it's going to get done. That's the only way you're going to take that action step to achieving the goal you want. I mean, we could talk about our goals all day long, but until we put it on the calendar and take action, it's just going to remain that a imaginary goal that we are going to say every single year we're going to do it, and we never do.
Yeah. I love intention, and it's something that I talk about a lot with my clients in our writing program, because intention, if like you said, if you don't have intention to do something, to say something, to act in a certain way, the likelihood of you doing it is so much slimmer. And when it comes to writing a book, you need to know what your intention is with your readers. Like, what are you trying to portray to them? What do you want them to gain? What is your intention as the author of this book? And I know, like, when I wrote my science fiction book, my entire intention for the entire book was to entertain. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want people to learn anything. I didn't want any groundbreaking shifts in their perspectives or anything like that. I just wanted to entertain them. And of course, that's a complex intention in itself. There's multiple different ways to entertain someone, but I knew what my goal was. When I wrote my How to Write a Book, my intention was to educate, to inform, to inspire. Like, it was very different. And my style comes across wildly different in both books, but because I was really clear what my intention was. And it's the same in your business. I love that you have correlated those two together. That's really great. So your life has changed. You're a mom of 2 boys now. You wrote this book back in 2016. How, now that you're a mom, how would you write a book in no time with all of these other commitments?
Yeah. It goes back to that intentionality we were just talking about. Is if, like, for example, I want to write this content planning workbook. So what I did is I wrote in my calendar, okay, I want to begin writing this. And because my calendar is pretty full right now, I'm like, I'm just going to outline what I want to put in there this month. That's all I'm doing this month, because I'm trying, one of the things that you have to do within your intentions is understand your time. As moms and business owners, we don't have a lot of time. We have to carve out precious moments, and maybe that even precious moments that we want to spend by ourselves to actually get some things done. So one of the things I did was, being intentional with what my time is. What do I have going on right now? What are my other obligations? What are the other things I am trying to accomplish right now? So I worked it in to fit this plan and workbook I want to create. I've been wanting to create it for years. So I decided just for this month, the first big step is just to outline it, because that won't take long. I already have an idea what I want to say. It's just a matter of let's outline it so I have something to go off of. So I guess my whole thing is, and one thing I really want to encourage the listeners is just to, be realistic. Don't say, oh, I'm going to write 5 chapters in 1 week if you're not going to have the time to do it. So be realistic and give yourself the grace. There's going to be some months where you're probably going to be slammed with client work or life or whatever. Plan for those months and know that you might have to take that step back. But in like the slower months, then you can put forth a little bit more time and effort into making your book happen. So with that being said, I will put it on my calendar. I will make it an intention, and I will set aside some time so I can actually write and plan out this content calendar and planning workbook to ensure it comes into fruition. And knowing that next month, I'm going to start creating some more content for the workbook.
So I have to ask, because I love knowing people's styles. Are you a planner or are you a pantser? Do you know going into your book what it's going to look like, or do you just kind of go with the flow?
I'm a little bit of both. I feel like I like to plan, but I also like to give myself that flexibility to just, be a pantser and just see like, I feel like a lot of my style is pantser, but I also like that planning because I think it gives me that sense of like safety of like, okay, I got a plan, but I also leave room for that freedom to add in things, take out things, but don't feel like it flows. And it's like, okay, nah, I'm just gotta like not right that right now.
Yeah.
So definitely have that balance of both. Probably more of a pantser though.
Yeah, I hear you 100%. Like, and I think it depends on the genre, in my opinion, too. Like my sci-fi book, 100% pantser, had no idea what was going to happen. Like every page was like, oh, I'm excited to find out what happens, right? You too?
Yep.
Yeah. But with my nonfiction work, I have a couple of different books out there in nonfiction, and I had to be a lot more meticulous with them. I had to know, again, what was my intention, because my intentions were more complex, and I had to know, like, where are they starting from and where do I want to get them to by the end of the book. And I found I erred a little more towards the planner side when it came to my nonfiction works, but being flexible to be a bit of both will help you so much in the long run. Like I know quite a few planners that when, they start out with this beautiful vision board or however it is that they've gone about creating their map and their outline, and then they get to a spot that just doesn't make sense when they're actually in the writing, and they can't get past it because it's on the board. Like this is how it's supposed to go, but it doesn't make sense in your story. And they can get really hung up, and it can be really stressful to feel like things are not going the way you've planned. So I like the idea of remaining, like having a plan, but remaining flexible. Okay, so let's talk about my favorite topic, marketing. Now, you are a bit of a marketing guru. So how can authors, market themselves after their book is published?
Yeah, we get this question quite a bit. And, it's going to go back to how do you like to market? There are like a kabillion ways to market yourself. But in order for the marketing to really work, I hold the belief that you have to find which way you enjoy. So if you're wondering, well, I don't know, then look at what ways have come natural to you. What things do you enjoy doing? What types of, what's your strengths? What is like some of the areas you want to show up and be recognized in? What are those ways? And pick a couple of different paths and go with it and see how it works out. That's going to take some time, some tweaking, I'm sure. As with any marketing, you have to expect it's going to take some time. So that's one of the first things I would say, find the marketing strategy that aligns with you. Like, for example, I discovered that I love posting content and I love to speak. So my two goes, not objections, but my two goals is to post on social media because I'm good at it, I'm consistent, and I love it. And I want to speak more. Hence, that's why I'm on this podcast. And I've actually, because I've aligned myself to that, I've been asked to speak multiple places. I'm booked out till April with speaking engagements, which is a lot of fun. So it's just like, I noticed that that's my strengths, that's my strong suit. I love doing these things. So that's what I'm going to do. And I found that it has really worked well for me. So that's an example of what has worked well for me. So it just goes back to what works really good for you. And if you found that you really enjoy social media, well, then spend time on social media. Just find the right platform that you enjoy being on. I keep trying to get myself on LinkedIn. I can't. I just can't. Oh my gosh, I just can't. So I'm just like, oh, maybe LinkedIn is just a not now thing. Maybe it'll be a never thing. But right now it's a not now. And I just have to be okay with it. And that's okay. It's okay if you don't resonate with a certain platform.
Yeah, I think that's so good because like when I have my clients too, when we get to the marketing component of their publishing journey, I come at them with this like 30-page marketing plan, and it's got like 15 to 20 different avenues for marketing. And the first, even saying it, even me who's written it, is like, oh my God, that's too much. And it's true, that is way too much. And so what we do is we pick out one or two things from that marketing plan that resonates with them, that feels good to them. It's in line with, their energy, their commitment, all of that stuff. And we tackle those two for a couple of months. Reassess if that's not working, go back to the plan, pick out another one or two and try a different tactic. I think people like me, especially, I get caught up in the shiny object syndrome. I see one
Mhm.
author doing it and I'm like, oh, I have to do that. Right. That's how I
Yep.
started this whole podcast. I saw somebody else doing it. I was like, I could do that. That looks like fun. Um, but if it doesn't line up with what you enjoy, it'll hurt you in the long run. You'll burn
Mhm.
out and it won't be successful because you won't be giving your full energy, your full attention, your full self to that method of marketing. And people know that. They can sense that in your messaging. And I think that's the whole point of what you do, is to get your messages to connect.
Yeah. Yeah. And finding the platforms you want to be on.
Yeah.
That's the first thing when I work with a client who won't, that's the first thing we do is like, where do you want to be on?
Yeah.
Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, it doesn't matter. You just need to tell me so I can align the message with the platform.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you work a lot with authors?
Yeah, I'm beginning to, which has been a lot of fun. Back in, I don't even know, October, I was all like, I want to work with authors again. And lo and behold, I got a part-time job as a marketing director for a Christian book publishing company,
Mm.
which has been really a lot of fun. It just fell into my lap, like literally fell into my lap. And so that's been a lot of fun. I am working with authors now, and I'm the marketing director, so I help them with the marketing, right?
Mhm.
And so one of my intentions this year is to work with more authors, because one of the things I see is authors are brilliant writers, but they're not great marketers.
Mhm.
And so my friend and we decided, because I'm an author, she's worked with authors, and she's a great graphic designer and marketer. I'm a great content person and marketer. And we just were like, these authors don't know how to market themselves, and they're not selling as many books. They want to sell more books, but they feel like nothing is working. So we developed a whole membership, where we give them daily content templates and daily graphics so that these authors can promote their books, market their books, build an audience, build trust and credibility, and really stand out from the other authors that they have. And the great thing about this membership is that it's for nonfiction and fiction writers, business owners, or just people who want to write for fun. Like, they're not in it to be a business, but they sure do want some more book sales.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we created so that we could work with more authors. And I'm actually working with an author right now and showing her how to use Amazon ads. And we also just got done where I wrote her press release for her book, which was a lot of
Oh,
fun.
that's fun. Yeah, that's definitely a great untapped way of marketing your book as press releases. I could do a whole nother topic on that. So I'm going to drop some links in the show notes, and we're going to link to some templates that you have for, storytelling to profits content. And we're also going to talk about I'm going to mention in there your author marketing content club, which is what you were just talking about. So Monica really is a one-stop shop. She's going to give you a free chapter on how to write your book in no time, and she's going to show you how to market it. So definitely reach out to her. Again, we'll drop those links in the show notes, and you can reach out to her on social media or drop by her website itself. I'm going to ask you one last question, Monica, and then we can talk about how to get your free chapter, how to get all those resources a little bit more from your point of view. What advice do you have for aspiring authors?
What I would say to an aspiring author is just to write from your heart. Don't judge how this sounds or how that sounds, or I don't have the right words. Just begin. Beginning is always the hardest part. Sitting down and doing it is always the hardest. It's just like going to the gym or going to, like for me, getting on the yoga mat. It's hard to get there, but once I'm there, I'm enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just encourage you just to get started and stop judging yourself for, oh, it doesn't sound right. It's okay. It wasn't meant to sound quote unquote right. Then you can go back and edit it later. But the primary thing is for you to sit down and write and just get it out of you. Get it out of your heart, get it out of your mind. Because I just read a quote, and it was just talking about how writing is dangerous because it gives you the ultimate authority and competence. And I love that because it just shows how dangerously awesome you can be when you sit down and write. So I'm encouraging you to get started by becoming dangerous by writing.
Mm-hmm. I just recorded a video yesterday for TikTok, and speaking of dangerous writers, I had a particularly bad day and I was angry with the world, and I sat down to write, and all of a sudden all of my characters were dying or being tortured, and I was like, that is the power of an author. Like, I can get all my frustrations out on paper. I don't have to use that content in the end. Like you said, it's not perfect coming out, but it's just, I processed so much. And I was downright dangerous with my words, because I tell you, a lot of characters were dying in that particular chapter, to the point where I was like, okay, I got to bring them back. That's too many. Okay, that's awesome. So let's talk about your free chapter from How to Write a Book in No Time. How can listeners access that?
Yeah, you can access that by going to my website, monicawrites.com/chapter 1.
Perfect. And we will put that link in the show notes. So that's going to be available up until February 26th, when something very exciting happens with that book. Monica is putting her book up for sale for 99 cents. So on February 26th, you can get a 99-cent copy of How to Write a Book in No Time, and grab that free chapter ahead of time so that we can email you with updates and things like that to get you ready for that sale date.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Yeah, awesome. I love when books go on sale, especially when they have so much value that they can give back. Like 99 cents is just such a non-commitment to something that can return in dividends for you.
Yeah. And the beauty, I love that. Oh, I'm going to circle back to something you said, because it just reminded me of this. I love how you were talking about earlier, how your book doesn't have to be long. Write your book in no time is like maybe 80 pages long.
Mm-hmm.
It's not long. So I love that you brought that up. I meant to bring it up earlier, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think so many people get this misconception that a book has to be, the size of Lord of the Rings or something like that. Like, that is like 120,000 word book. No, it doesn't have to be that. There is space in the market for shorter books.
Mhm.
And you're demonstrating that with your book. And you're still, it's still changing lives.